best.
Oh, so you gifted that to everyone?
Not to everyone.
To the people
Only
who
the people
thought.
who don't
If you
want to
loved
die, yeah.
one.
Okay, okay.
So the big question
It's only
is...
the only word we cannot say, you know?
Right.
So I just thought it was funny.
So you talk about your character, obviously the whole team is kind of thrust into this situation where they've dealt with a lot of things, I'm sure, in their time, but nothing like this. How much is she being exposed to early on, and how much is she accepting? Because we know Corey's character is obviously not willing to accept, early on at least, that this could
Yeah.
be what it really
I
is.
think, Nora and F, they go hand in hand. They're like partners, and they've been working together for quite a long time, and they're a really good team together. They complement each other really well. So I think what happens is completely out of their logic and their way of thinking. So of course, logically, Nora just doesn't believe what's happening and cannot actually put a name of what's happening. Yet I think she does have this perception of something bigger than what they can actually, tackle. Whereas Corey is a bit more in denial. It's a bit more in denial. Nora perceives there's something she is really intriguing about Citrakian's character when he comes and in the airport and tells them like you have to sever the bodies and behead them and burn them and Corey's like, oh my god, this crazy man, and Nora's like, oh, this sounds crazy, but there's something inside her that is like, what's going on? Who is this man? How come he knows things that that have been happening, and how is he aware of that? And then you'll see throughout the first episodes that she always goes back and tries to get some truth from Citrakian, yet not believing 100%. But she's intrigued by him, and that's what Guillermo said when we were filming, like that Nora internally she knows, and she's like this heart of the story that just knows things, and he was like, well, you're a woman, so you know, and also you're Latin, so you know more. It's like, you're Latin, of course you know. And I'm like, okay, good. Like from a Mexican to an Argentine, So, yeah. I don't know, did that?
Yeah.
How did you get the part, describe your attraction to the role? Why did you want to do it?
Oh, Guillermo. I've always been fascinated by Guillermo's films, and I think he's, one of the best directors of our time. So to have the possibility to work with him in a project that he loves so much, that he's invested so much of his life in. He wrote 3 huge novels with Chuck. He had this whole story in his head and heart, and then he put it into into 3 huge books. And he's really invested with these characters. It's not one of those pilots where like a really well-known director gets hired to direct, and then get a commission if the show is a success, which is actually what happens most of the time. This is Guillermo's baby. He just created it all. It's been in his head for I don't know how many years. So just to be part of it, it's just I feel just so blessed and lucky.
We were told by Corey that Guillermo would just pop up on set at 2 a.m. Is
the other
that a great
day.
example of his enthusiasm that he just when he can?
The other day he came by. We were shooting at a gas station. It was a really hard shoot. It was episode 8 of the first season, and shooting nights mainly, and it's been cold, so shooting exteriors have been quite challenging. And then Guillermo just popped out at 2 a.m. It's like, hi! I like what you did there. And he watches dailies every day. I just don't know how he does it. He's doing a movie, he writes scripts, he sleeps 2 hours, yet he comes to set and he's so sharp. He sees things that nobody would see. He sits on the monitor and he's like, yeah, that point over there. What is that? It's like, oh my god, it's like they forgot to take the tape out and it's 2 blocks away, and Guillermo sees it in the monitor. It's like, I never worked with a director where everything, you're completely transparent to him. Everything that's happening to you, everything that's going on, he just sees it and calls it. It felt like, okay, I might as well just like surrender because I cannot hide, I just couldn't hide anything from him. And that's a really lovely feeling.
What was the mood like shooting the pilot then? Was there a lot of enthusiasm on his
Oh
part?
yeah, on his part, yeah, on his part, so much, and on everyone's part. Everyone just wanted to give their best. In every head of the department, they just wanted to give their best to Guillermo. And I think we're quite lucky because we have an amazing crew that maybe they wouldn't be doing a TV show if it was not because it's Guillermo's TV show. So we got one of the best crews in Toronto working with us. So, and everyone's such a great professional, just beautiful. And also Guillermo, I don't think Guillermo works with extremely amazing professionals, but really cool, pleasant, lovely people. Because that's what he is. So of course his energy calls that energy. So we're just working with the best crew ever. Everyone's just lovely.
Now the pilot is, there's a lot of plot that has to be taken care of.
Yeah,
by
too
pilot.
much.
And,
It's
and maybe
crazy.
not so much time for character, but you know that there are these 3 books out there. So did you immediately go and read the books just to know more about Nora, or were you okay
Yeah,
with
of course.
knowing?
No, I read them. My casting process was quite long, and I met first with the casting director, and then I met with Guillermo wanted me to read with Corey and Kevin Durand because my character interacts with both throughout the books. And somehow I think Kevin and Corey were not in LA at the same time, so I think I met my first meeting, I had 10 days, and then I had my reading with Corey, and then I had 10 days and my reading with Kevin. So in those like little hiatus, I just read all the books. So by my last meeting, I had read them all. I had done a whole paper on it. It's like I studied a couple of years of literature in university, so I'm used to like when I read a book, I just like I'm like a little scholar in that way. So yeah, I had all my notes, like everything highlight. I just like came with like all my homework.
Did you show that to Guillermo? Has he seen your thesis?
No, he's when we were rehearsing here for the pilot, I would be the one taking notes in the rehearsal and then like emailing like all the things, like all the points that we went through in the rehearsal. I'm a bit of a nerd that way. But I shared with him, we would be doing certain scenes, and then certain choices that I made in the scenes, I said like, I want to make this choice because of what happens in book 3. So even though it's a scene from book 1, I would like for you to see that this is the seed of what will happen in book 3.
Nice.
And I think he really liked that,
What sort of points did you make regarding Nora? And what were the things that stood out for you as defining her character?
I think she's a very strong character, yet she's like a humanist. She's very warm. So, and Guillermo was quite adamant about that just not to, she's a scientist, she's a biochemist. So the tendency when you play that is like to play like this very rigid character with like no sensuality or no warmness and he's like just totally go completely against that. Like Nora is 100% who Mia is. That's why I chose you. I don't want this like, woman with glasses like being super strict. I want someone that, can like be amazing at a lab and like, discover a virus and, be able to be comfortable in a level 4 hazmat suit and just be the best. And then like come Saturday and she sleeps with Jimmy. Like that is Nora. So I'm like, okay, so I can do that. So it was just lovely. He's like, it's just you. Just, like, I came here to Toronto and he's like, I don't want to change Mia's hair color. I don't want her hair. It's exactly how I want it. This is exactly, Mia is Nora. And just whatever you do that it's against who you are as a person, it's against your character. He's super adamant about that. Even they changed the character, so she's from Argentina like me.
Wow.
And there's a whole little storyline about Nora and Nora's family having gone through the dictatorship in Argentina and how would that affect her with what's happening in New York and people disappearing like they disappeared in Argentina? And somehow that's a story that, in a way, it's very it's a connection with Pan's Labyrinth, I think, and the whole Civil War and the this oppressive regime against people, which is it's what happens to Nora Neff. There is the vampires. It is like a sort of like dictatorship taking over the world, with tongues and everything. But it could be a metaphor for a dictatorship for sure.
Well, even before they sort of added the Mia-specific things to it, did you sort of feel ownership? Did you sort of read the script and go, okay, this is my part, even if I'm just reading for it, no one else is getting it?
Yeah.
Does that happen often, or is it...
Yeah. No, it doesn't happen. It's not that it happens often. It happens often, I think, when you're so connected with a character and you are so focused and you have no doubt that it is you, then I think producers see that and they believe that you are that person. At the same time, I do believe that characters choose you as well. So there is a connection between the person and the character that, another person may be more perfect for it, like look-wise, but then somehow someone comes in the room and just has this visceral connection with the story of the character, and there's this sort of like magical moment where those two people are one. And I did feel that about Nora. Basically for that like 25 days or a month that was my whole audition process, I did nothing but stay home, read the books, and write about her. I basically locked myself. I didn't tell anyone that I was auditioning for it. It was, quite unique. And yeah, it was quite unique.
Was there a magic moment? I mean, was there one specific moment that you can point to where you sort of sensed that you melded and that other people might have seen it?
I was very happy with my readings and the work with Guillermo, and I was very happy. There was one moment that I read with Kevin that was really magical, and where we were just saying the lines and looking at each other, and then we just stared, and then we forgot we were doing the scene and forgot about the lines, and everyone was like, "Hey guys, we're here." It's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I forgot, Carton's there and Guillermo was there, and so I was just, sometimes you do readings or auditions, and I've been lucky enough to work with pretty amazing directors, and I've been really lucky sometimes to just audition for amazing directors, and there's a lot written about actors auditioning and how hard it is, and I'm not going to say that it's not, because it is. But there's something when an audition and when you get to work with an artist like Guillermo, or if you're auditioning for someone like Terrence Malick or Francis Ford Coppola, where the audition itself, it's a creative moment, and you're so happy with what happened in that moment with that director that no matter if they choose you or not, you feel accomplished as an artist. And I had that feeling with Guillermo. And once you have that feeling, then maybe it doesn't matter if they choose you or not. I mean, it's because you have that connection in the room, and you got to do what you do best and do it at your best. And then the rest, you may be too tall or too short or too blonde or too brunette, and that's, or maybe they choose someone else, and it doesn't really, the whole cast doesn't make sense if you're in it and they don't choose you. But if you get to have a creative moment, I think it's all right. I think it's tough when people just, when people feel like cattle in and out of the room and you don't get to, do what you do, be creative. But normally with wonderful directors, there's always that rapport and that opportunity just to do something special in the room. So, there's the time and there's the respect and there's the wisdom from the director to just let people be. That was a long answer.
Nora and Afron would you describe the dynamic between them as the season develops, and that kind of dichotomy between them as working partners who have to have each other's back, but also obviously there's the personal complexity.
Yeah, I think Nora and F, they're amazing partners at work, and I think F has been, he's been separated from Kelly, I would say for a year or 8 months, and this relationship between Nora and romantic relationship has developed between them, but it's not actually something that has a form or a name. It's probably a couple of accidents after he moved out of his house, and they're at a trip, in Puerto Rico, like following a virus strain, whatever. They have a couple of like tequilas, and then they end up sleeping together because they happen to be both single, and maybe it's the first time they ever been single while they're working together, and then they just don't talk about it. And then that may happen again, like you're in Cuba and having a few roughs, and then that happens again, and then they don't talk about it. And so I don't think it's something that they haven't put a name on, and I don't think Nora would dare to say that she's his girlfriend, or if they even have a relationship. She knows that he has to go through so much still with the divorce with Kelly, and I think she knows him a lot more than what Kelly does, because Nora spends a lot more time with F than F spends with his family. Yet I think what happens is like their love story is going to develop or not, because what happens is the reality of this virus strain that the vampires hitting New York, it's just so strong that anything that you do as a human being, becomes quite banal. So even a love story is like, so we'll see where it goes, They're there for each other, and sometimes they have a little friction, but I think they try to be there for each other as much as they can in the circumstances that they're in.
Earlier you mentioned the tongues and things, as you referred to it. We go to the creature shop this morning.
Oh,
lots
cool.
of really cool stuff there. What's it like for you on set to see the things that they've created?
Oh, there's amazing. It's like going to, like an amusement park. Like, the guys just show up with the weirdest stuff. Like, heads that move and tongues that, like, they're too creepy to look at. And we had this whole scene that they had to do this autopsy of this vampire, because what's really cool about the show is, like, it's not vampires like in the 18th century with this romantic idea of them. It's actually taking the genre to the 21st century. So Nora and F and Jim dissect the whole vampire just to see what's going on. For the first time ever in the history of the genre, you get to see what actually happens to a human being consumed by a vampire, and how the organs morph. And so what the guys did about like cutting the body and just like opening and just seeing this weird organ, it's just like incredible. And then Guillermo loved them too, because for example he shot the whole second unit of the insert of the vampire autopsy himself. It was just like one of the Mario, our prop guy who I love, he was there when Guillermo shot, and then the hand doubles came, and it was like my hand double and Corey's and Sean's hand double, and then it's like, yeah, we're doing it. And it's like, oh, this is Guillermo del Toro, he'll be directing your hand. And they're like, okay. Nobody told us, like, it's okay. It's like, okay. So they were like, we had numbers were kind of nervous because of Guillermo
That's
directing.
hilarious.
They
That's
they normally get like a tiny crew, like doing tiny. They never get like one of the top directors of the world.
Now, I'm just kind of curious, because you're a scientist, you're dealing with a mythological creature like a vampire. What is the coolest line of dialogue you've had to say about him?
Oh, which line would be?
Which isn't a spoiler.
No, Corey has a lot of those lines because Corey's always fighting. F is always fighting Tetrakian. It's like vampires, like really. And I don't know which would be a specific line. Nora's much more of a believer, so she never questions the Traken that much. I think Corey would be a better person to answer that question because he has all those kind of like, you know, lines that are like really, are we calling them strogi or vampires? Like, I think one line is like, what was it? It's kind of like, okay, let's call them vampires just semantically, like, you know, for semantic reasons, like, so he has to like explain why he starts calling them vampires so it's easy to communicate with the track, and those are really cool lines.
On that note, do you have much in the way of scientific dialogue? And
I do, yeah.
How is that to kind of deal with as opposed to regular expositional dialogue?
It's difficult, you know. Always, I think scientific dialogue. It's a bit. They're words that you may never, you know, have said in your lifetime, or maybe said once. But it's nice, you know. The more the season develops, we lose that dialogue and just like surrender to the world, which is kind of nice, you know. So it's so many shows in one. You have this very procedural first episodes, and then little by little the vampire world like creeps in, and Nora and F, they're like very, you know, like reality based, and it's a full on drama. And, F with his wife and myself with my mom, and then little by little everything starts evaporating, and then it's a new paradigm, and this is their new paradigm, and they just have to deal with that like normal people, you know, like any of us would have to deal with it if it actually happens. If that happens, like the first thing you think is like, what do you do with my mom? Or like, oh my God, I have to take, you know, what do I do with my brother who's sick? Like, how do I fight yet take care of my family? So there's this whole dichotomy of taking care of business and love, and that's also the whole thing that the vampires use against human beings, that the love will actually tear them apart.
Well, then what would be the first thing you would do if it happened?
Good question. Probably just fly back to Argentina and just like get my parents, you know, just fly somewhere else. But yet I'm not a scientist, or I wouldn't probably have been responsible for the virus spreading, whereas Nora and F are. They just let it happen without knowing, so they have to live with that responsibility.
Right.
So then, and these are people that work for the CDC. It's, you know, they're in charge of the health, you know, for maintaining like populations safe and healthy. They're the ones that, if there's any plague, there's any, you know, flu epidemic, they're the ones that are the ones containing it, but also they're the best communicators, letting people know what's actually going on, or letting people know not enough so they could actually be safe and not panic. So for those two people who are the head of that to be, you know, faced with this situation that they kind of like let loose because they didn't know what was it, it's just such a responsibility. So of course they have that dichotomy of like my family and this, yet this is my job and I'm going to keep on doing it because they love what they do. So if not, they could just like, you know, leave the city and go, as we may see if we ever get to season 5, there's a lot of people that actually move to islands because vampires cannot cross water without an invitation. So a lot of people go to Iceland or the UK or places where they cannot access. So, or the lake area. So whoever lives around here would be safe.
I'll be all right.
You mentioned, you'd spoken about the practical effects before, but how much does that help you get into a scene to actually have such like detail with the animatronics? And,
oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's just the only thing that it's complicated sometimes, like just so fascinating to watch that you just like keep on watching it and it's like, oh my God, my line, sorry. It's just so amazing, the prosthetics and the makeup. It's just totally believable. It's never like, oh yeah, this is, I kind of like have to pretend this is scary and probably special effects will deal with it later. No, it's just so palpable, you know, how horrendous the situation is or the transformation of that person is, that it's really scary. And also, as I was saying before, it's just really tying it up with the answer that the longest answer in the world that I gave you about being in a creative situation. Every every department is so creative that it just enhances the scenes. You know, if you're working with a vampire, that they come out of like the makeup trailer after like 7 hours of prosthetics and they look incredible, then you just want to be at your best. You know, you come and then you have the best props and the best prop department. You just want to make those props like shine and like be really good with them. You come onto a scene and I'm working with Corey and Dave, like I just want to come at my best, like having worked on the scene, you know, or Kevin, who's just so incredible. The stories are beginning to meet, and we're starting to work with Kevin. It's just so beautiful to watch. His stunts are just like unbelievable. So you just want to be the best of you can give, and yeah, it's just not that very often that you know, it's I find like when it's such a beautiful project and everyone's at the top of their game, it's like it's those moments in filmmaking that they're little miracles, and I think this is one of them. So I'm just so happy to be part of it.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Bye.
Great meeting you.